In this video, we're going to talk about class selectors. A class selector is how you add special styling. So in this case, we've got a base card, and then we have alert base. But alert base is basically the same as a base card, right? Not quite. It's got a little bit extra in there. We'll get into that, but to understand how this works, let's go to W3 Schools and let's look at the class selector to see how that is done. So in W3 Schools, this example 2 is what I want to discuss here. Now, everybody's used to this type of selector where you just add center as a class to any kind of object. This one here limits it to a paragraph tag, so we know that. This one here is limiting it to a paragraph tag, fancy, but there's also beige. That's different. Now down here they've got paragraph tag EX1 and then EX2, but notice there's a space here and there's no space here. What is the difference? Well, let's go to the try it yourself and let's look at this. So this paragraph down here, this is the one that's got the space in there, and let's change that to red. We run that, okay. So that's changing that to red, but wait a minute. It's got a space here. How is that working different than this one? So let's go down and look at this one here. This is a nested tag. So span is a tag that's inside the paragraph tag. So that's why you have the space there. But this one is fancy, large, beige. So what they did here is they put large in the middle so that you could see that it doesn't have to be one right after the other. You can mix them. But what they're doing here is this paragraph right here is this guy. So if we put a 4 there, which means that we're changing that so it's no longer a 4 there, that won't work. If we put a 4 down here to make a match again, it works. Let's take away the 4. Take away the 4. Make sure it works. We're going to add, so let's do margin of 5px. We should see a 5 pixel margin come around this. How about let's do padding. Padding, okay. So we saw margin, now we saw padding. So let's add something else in here. Let's add test, just to see what that does. It no longer works. Let's go down here. Let's add test in here. Let's put it up here at the front. And let's run it. Look at that. You could add, so these things, as long as they are class selectors for a paragraph tag, they will work, and it doesn't matter the order. Do you notice that? So I could take that out, I could put test there, and it will work. Now if I take test out and don't change it above, it'll not do anything. So if I take test out up here now, run it, it works again. Let's take out our padding. what happens, this is interesting. This is something that people don't think about when they're doing styling. But this is important to understand, especially when you get into PrimeNG and third-party style sheets that are affecting your styles. And this is something that I'm trying to explain here so that you'll understand how to fix things when your styles break and you're styling third-party style sheets. Which is, why would you do that? Well, sometimes the third-party style sheets aren't exactly what you want or your designer wants. And so what this does is it allows you to make some modifications and make it your own. Let's look at the code that I've got for all these cards. In here, here's my base card, and I've got a hover. The reason I put the hover is so that while I'm explaining it and I hover over it, it'll come forward so that you can see it. That's the only reason that's in there. So the title is here. That gives the top part of the card so you can see it. But then the before. Now, if you know your CSS, you know that this is not going to do anything as it is here, but it is setting up for the other classes later that are going to use this. So here's the base card, title part of the card, but then we're going to go down here and we have an alert. Now, this is CSS or SAS, and the SAS, I have it set up here so that it'll generate the CSS so we can look at it. And you'll notice we've got, here's the wrapper, which is right here. Okay, here's the wrapper, here's the card. Let's bring this over here so it's easier to see. So here's the wrapper and the card. Now notice that there's a space between it. This is where you need to understand SAS well enough to know what this right here means. Let's go look for the hover. I think I went past it. Oh, here's the hover. Here's wrapper, card, hover. Now, the important thing about SAS is this ampersand says take whatever your parent class is here and append it with no space. Notice there's no space there. Now, title doesn't have the ampersand, and so it's going to do card space title. So here's the next one that gets generated. So now, as we go down, here's the before, and because before doesn't have content, we know this isn't going to do anything. But this is actually going to help when we do bring content in, because this will be the base. The cascading side of the style sheets is what's going to cause this to merge with the other. And we'll see that in just a moment here. I want to show you alert. So alert, if we collapse this and we collapse hover, so here's card, alert. So if we go here, here's the wrapper up here. Here's card alert. So card alert now is what's bringing in, and this is our base alert, or our alert base. In here, we take this and we see now after card alert, we also see title. Notice this right here. Now I'll be discussing this a little bit later, but right now we're going to focus on just this part. This is brought over here. So here's the 6-pixel, and here's the color blue. That's this guy. Now if you'll notice, in the CSS, my SAS, these are SAS variables here, this one here, and this one. They're down to what they're supposed to be here. Now, you see all this in color lighten. Here's the width. Now notice I put a minus, a hyphen, in front of this. That'll put it there. So I don't have a positive and a negative card border width. I just have card border width. And there's a reason I want those to be the same. Now if I get down into here, here's the title. And let's get down into success. But wait a minute, this is not a period, this is a hyphen. Look at that. See how that built that? So card alert success. So when we look at the HTML, you'll see that this is actually one of the classes I'm using. But in my SAS, you won't find that class unless you understand that success is appended to alert without any space. So I'm taking advantage of a technique where in SAS, I can write my code this way, but it comes out in a more succinct way over here. Now here's the title. So here's success, here's title, and here's the before. Now notice that the before has this content with a check mark in it. So if we go back and we look at, here's our success, here's the check mark, and notice the similarities, but this check mark, the circle, isn't here and it's not here. This is the base, and the base has that before, but there's no content in it. That's why it doesn't show. Once I put content, it will show. But this is all based off of the other. So let's go back and let's look at the code again. We have, here's our before content. That's all we're adding. Remember that it's going to append all of this card, wrapper, card, title, before. So wrapper, card, title, before. So wrapper is the outer div, card is the next div, and then title is the next div. And then title has a before. I could have just written this as title colon before, and it would work the same way. But this handles specificity. So if I have other things, other types of objects that have titles, they don't get confused with a card, and this card has to be in the wrapper. Now we go down into here. Now we see some others. We have, here's error alert. Here's the error title. Okay, and that's the background color, and the title is black. Now, if we look at This one, the title is white, and that's what we did here. So this is white, but the rest of them are all black. So you got that flexibility you can work with here. Let's go on down. Now we're into the warning. And before we go to warning, let's finish up error. Error has this content. Here's the before with the content there. Now we go down into here and we've got this. So here's the warning now. So warning starts here and goes down to here. That's the warning. And info just goes from here to here. Now, you can see how things change over. When I make a change here, you'll see it reflected over here immediately. Now, this part up here is from these guys. I have mix-ins and I have a base. So in SAS, I can put those in separate files. That's what I did here. You see those files right here? And I can control all that with that. So this gives me the ability to chunk things into groupings. So anything with my base, I just put there and I don't have to worry about it. So all I'm focused on is what my main focus here. So this card, I could have put into another import. So import, by the way, is being phased out. We're supposed to be using use. And I'll do a video on that in the future. But right now, I'm just going to use import because that's what everybody's used to. Now, we got all of these pieces here, but wait a minute, what is this? So I want to show you how this works. So if we go down into the alert, here's alert right here. Alert is done in a way that I put everything into a mix-in. So here's what the mix-in looks like. And if you'll see, the mix-in has the title in there. It's got everything but the before in this particular mix-in that I call card style. And this one's called card title before. You can call it whatever you want, but this is just what I called it. And you'll see here that I've got a variable. Now that I should have put up into a place and just imported it so that it's consistent. Let's go back here and let's get rid of that, and let's comment this out. Okay, so this is the base alert right here. Okay, now if we go back to the code and I tell it to save this now, you'll see no changes, because this one line is bringing in this, which generates the exact same stuff that this would generate, exact same code. So if we go over here, okay, with those commented out now, we can go and we can see that nothing has changed over here because the alert has stayed the same. So if we go and look at the alert card now is still there, unchanged. It's got the white text up there, the blue background, and everything's the same. We go back here now, and we can go down, and let's do the same thing for success. Now success imports this other mix-in down here, which passes this variable. So notice this variable here. This is what's getting passed in. And the variable is a named variable, but there's no type. If you're used to a language like Java, C, or TypeScript or JavaScript, JavaScript you don't have to put a variable there. But TypeScript, it prefers you do. You don't have to there. But in C and Java, you do have to have a type there. So in this is CSS mix-in. So a mix-in is a way that you can add a whole bunch of information, styling information, into just one line. And that is cool. So let me show you how this works with the success here. So I'm going to uncomment those. I'm going to comment the rest out, including that before. Now up here, there was no before. I didn't need to have this include card title before. But here I'm putting it in there. So if I save that, nothing changed over here. So success looks identical. If we go back and we look at the success card here, here's the success, and it's got the same green. It's got everything in the same place. A check mark is there. We're going to do alert next. So let's go back and let's look at the alert now. So we're going to pull up alert. Or not alert, but error. So we're going to pull up error, and we're going to undo that, and we're going to check or comment this part out. So I'm going to save that. Okay. Now if we go back and we look at the alert, it's there. Now let's just comment this part out just to see what happens. So I'm going to save it, go back, and notice that the X is gone. So if I go and I bring back, now I could do it down here. I would just demonstrate how this can be done. So I can go here, comment that out, or uncomment that, save it, and you see the alert comes back. So let's take this out again. So that's out, just to show you that it's gone. So it's gone. I'm going to go back and I'm going to uncomment this. And now you can see it's back. So you can see how fast and easy that is to tweak things. Now, let's look at the warning now. We're going to go back here now, and we're going to uncomment this and comment this part out here. And we do a save. And alert is working. Nothing changed here. So let's go to info. Info, let's do the same. Let's uncomment this. And we're going to comment that out. We're going to do a save. And the alert has stayed the same. Now, what have we learned through this? Well, we learned a couple things. One is by combining things, we can reduce the amount of CSS we have to write. And one way of combining them is using mix-ins. So this greatly reduced the amount. So I can delete all of these commented out lines. This whole thing is about 145 lines. If I remove all that, it will come down to less than 100 lines, I believe. That is a big help. The other thing we learned is that you can use the ampersand here to append without a space. In this case here, title and before. So there's title and before. And we can see how these are all brought together in multiple places. And to me, it's amazing how easy this is. So this is something that I strongly suggest that you learn how to do and do it well. Now let's look at the HTML and see how that works with what we've been discussing. So we've got the wrapper, the card, and the title. So here's a wrapper and the card, and then down here's the title. And we've got that hover so that when I go over it, it'll hover. And this is applied to every single one of these because they all have card, title. So they're all within the wrapper. So this has a card, so therefore it will hover. So when the hover triggers, that's because of this right here. Now let's go down to card title. It's always font 14, and it's font weight of 800. 700 is your normal bold, but I made this 800. Padding is half an EM, and the background color, so this is on the first one here, this is aqua. Now if we go to here's the title before, so this has nothing before it, there's no content. This has no content. These down here have content, that's why they're showing, but this is going to be replicated in all of the other styles as needed. So if we go down now, go to card alert, which is your base alert. That's this guy over here. So in the base alert, we have just card alert. That's this guy here. And notice that there's no space. They're right together. So wrapper is the parent div, and then this, that's like a container. And then this div here is card alert, and that's why there's no space there. Then card alert title. So notice that the space means that it has to be another child within that container. And then we get down here to card alert success. So if I make this success, it'll change this one over here. Let me save that. And this has now become a success card, even though it says base alert up there. So let's take that off, save it, and it goes back to alert base. So you can see that that hyphenated piece that we had, let's go down and find the hyphenated. Here's the hyphenated. Here's success, error, warning, and info. So that's all it took to get that to style differently. Isn't that cool? So let's go back here. And so each one of these, really the only difference is how we brought this together. So here's card alert success. Here's card alert success. Let's go down card alert error. Here's card alert error. Right in here. And we go down to card alert warning. Notice there's no space in there. And card alert info. That's this guy right here. So that's how this is all done. I hope this has helped, and I hope you've learned something from this.